We are currently living in an upside-down world. There is another floor crosser, which basically guarantees Mark Carney a majority. This is the most insane story I've ever seen in my life. One of the most conservative ridings in Canada, someone that has vocally called the Liberals corrupt. They are so corrupt. Called out Mark Carney for enriching himself as the Prime Minister, giving Brookfield contracts. This MP supported the Freedom Convoy, the truckers. She supported them, seen in photos having dinner with them. She's also an anti-vaxxer, a Trump supporter, criticized the Liberals for attacking free speech and calling out the Liberals over their censorship laws. Mainstream media has come out today and said this makes zero sense. She is a far-right winger. And if you thought all of this was unbelievable, you will not believe what I say next. This MP actually ran to be the Prime Minister of Canada as a conservative. This is like hearing that Pierre Poilievre has announced he is crossing the floor to join the Liberal Party. This puts in question Canada's democracy. Let's get into this report. We woke up this morning to the breaking news that another floor crosser has crossed to the Liberal Party. This time, it's Marilyn Gladu. Here is her shocking statement. Dear citizens of Sarnia, the past year has been like no other that Canada's ever faced. I've heard clearly from constituents that you want serious leadership and a real plan to build a stronger, more independent Canadian economy. We're going to take a look at that statement. Sarnia has voted Conservative for the last 20 years, and this MP has voted against conversion therapy and received 53% of the vote. This switch gives Mark Carney that majority he is looking for. 20 years as a Conservative. This is one of the strongest Conservative ridings in Canada. The difference between this floor crosser and the other floor crossers, at least the other floor crossers had competitive ridings. This one was a landslide tsunami for the Conservatives. The Liberals were not even close at 37% of the vote. Get this, just a couple months ago, she posted that she calls for automatic by-elections for any MP who switches parties. January 11th, 2026. She writes she was the one that wrote this. She was furious about the floor crossers. She is demanding here in this letter backing to hold an automatic by-election when a member of parliament defects to another party. She actually came forwards and supported this petition. Can you actually believe this? The petition writes, unrestricted floor crossing can erode voters' trust amid rise in political corruption and scandals, and that voters deserve immediate accountability when an MP switches to another party midterm, potentially altering Parliament's balance without endorsement. Canada, you can't make any of this stuff up. And back in January 23rd of 2022, she posted, let those truckers roll, 10-4, standing up for freedom. I really wonder how the Liberals feel about having her in their party. Here she is, just 2 weeks ago in the House of Commons.
Speaker, the Emergency Measures Act has been ruled unlawful by the courts twice. The Liberals violated the charter rights of Canadians by freezing their bank accounts when the threat of a national security threshold was never met. They've wasted millions of dollars of taxpayer money, and now they are appealing this court decision for a third time. With an affordability crisis and a jobs crisis, will the Liberals quit wasting taxpayer monies on something that the courts have ruled twice is unlawful?
I don't know about you, but what happened in 2 weeks? Because this makes zero sense. And this is the most unbelievable part. She actually ran to be the Prime Minister of Canada as a Conservative.
But so far, the only woman candidate for the Conservative leadership is Ontario MP Marilyn Gladu. The MP for Sarnia-Lambton is a chemical engineer by profession. She joins me in our studio now. Good to see you again.
Good to see you, Peter.
Thanks for being here. Why do you think you're the best person to lead the Conservative Party?
Well, Peter, in order to win the next election, we need a few things. First of all, we have to expand the base. And for that, we need a strong, dynamic leader, somebody that will be appealing to other Canadians, and I think I'm that person. And we also need a better balance in our policy of fiscal responsibility and social compassion. I think Canadians love, what Conservatives do in terms of lowering taxes and creating jobs, growing the economy. When it comes to protecting the natural resource sector, especially the energy sector, I've got 32 years of experience in the petrochemical industry. I think I spent a lot of hours in Alberta and working in that industry, and I understand that industry, mining, nuclear, the bio and renewables industry, and that's experience that I think will help repair the damage that's been done to their economy by the Liberals.
Where do you stand on a carbon tax?
Well, a carbon tax is not a very effective way to get a reduction. BC's had one for 10 years and they've only reduced by 1%. Europe has had one for 19 years and they've only gone down 8%.
They don't work.
No, they don't work, but 2/3 of the people that got elected to Parliament came from a party that was, in favor of a carbon tax. So while I would say it's punishing on the poor, and we really have to address that, and put the incentive where you want to get the emissions reduction. I believe in protecting people's rights and freedoms. So the rights of conscience for people to vote how they want to vote, for example, and I'll continue to do that. I think in the interests of democracy, members are duly elected and they're supposed to be able to bring whatever they want in terms of private members' business. And I think, we need to allow due process. I don't think squashing people's rights is necessarily a good leadership tactic.
Okay.
At this point, I'm open to working with the members to make sure that their rights are protected. I think.
Do you think what you're saying today aligns with party policy?
Absolutely. I am fully on board with the party policy. We're not reopening the abortion debate, and it's a checkbox on the leadership forum, which I just submitted today.
Okay. How's your French?
Je parle très bien le français.
So, declared candidate for the Conservative Party leadership. Always good to talk to you. Thanks for your time today.
Thank you.
This is not AI, Canada. This is real life. Here's Marilyn's announcement that she's crossed the floor to join the Liberal Party.
And energy coming to our team. So welcome, Marilyn.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. I'm very happy to be the newest member of our new Liberal government. I've been watching the Prime Minister since he was elected, and the big things that he is driving, nation-building projects, diversifying our trade, bolstering our defense, plans to address criminality and build more homes. These are all the things that Canadians want. These are actually the things that the people of Sarnia-Lambton-Bikeshmandong want. As the Prime Minister mentioned,
What has Mark Carney done since becoming Prime Minister? Has he approved one pipeline? Has he approved any projects of national interest? Has he signed any massive trade deal with anyone around the planet? What exactly has he done? Our home building's down 16%. Our economy is going into a depression right now. The Canadian dollar is tanking. Affordability is the worst it's ever been in this country. And we have 5 floor crossers, something that has never happened in Canadian history. In 70 years, the average is 1 floor crosser for every election cycle. It has never caused a change in government. This would give a majority to the Liberals that nobody voted for. Don't get too discouraged here, Canada. Polymarket here says the chances of a majority government for the Liberals by June 30th is 99%. That means there's still a chance. We have a 1% chance to save Canada.
You mean not good like 1 out of 100?
I'd say more like 1 out of 1,000,000.
So you're telling me there's a chance? Yeah!
Watch Mark Carney smile as he hawked on our democracy.
So in a few minutes, I'll officially welcome Marilyn Gladu as the latest member of the government. Very much looking forward to working with Marilyn. She brings tremendous experience as an engineer, a very long international business career, dedicated to the people of Sarnia. She's spent her whole career there, and of course a lot of experience as a politician. And she's going to be a great member of our team. Lots of energy, ideas, advice on a wide range of issues, including execution, getting things done. And this all comes at a time when the country as a whole is uniting to move forward. And it's important that over there we unite to move forward as well. So thank.
What's uniting? Is it Alberta independence uniting? Because based on what we're seeing in this country, I see uniting somewhere. You know who else is uniting? The constituents in Gladu's riding is uniting and taking their campaign signs and throwing them all in the trash can. There is definitely some uniting going around. Lisa Waller here has some great points for everybody to consider, including some statistics.
The question is, should you do that? Should Mark Carney be able to secure a majority, not through the will of the people, not through a mandate from the people? Should he be able to do that by people taking advantage of a loophole in our parliamentary system? A loophole I'll bring up that Marilyn Gladu started a petition in January to force a by-election for people who cross the floor. So is she going to voluntarily resign and run as a Liberal in a by-election? Because that's what she said she would have done 2 months ago. Is she going to do that again?
That's true. Is she going to do it?
Well, there isn't a by-election. You think there should be?
You know what? I think there should be. I think if you cross the floor, there should be a by-election. Marilyn Gladu 2 months ago said there should be. So will she say that again? I doubt it.
And if your data is correct, which I'm not doubting, that 80% of people who vote in a federal election are actually voting for a leader, how do you think the people of Sarnia Lambton would vote if they were put to a vote?
Yeah, and honestly, it's actually higher than that. And then this is, into the theory of political science of what determines somebody's vote. I would imagine that people would vote overwhelmingly for the Conservative Party. It is a very conservative riding. It is historically a conservative riding. It's provincially a conservative riding. The people who live in Sarnia Lambton tend to vote Conservative. I think they will be very upset that Marilyn Gladu has abandoned her value system and that she basically is telling them that their vote didn't matter. She is now a Liberal, sitting as a Liberal, voting as a Liberal. And, I have a lot of Liberal friends who today are wondering, are we now a pro-life party? Do we have to have room for all of these different positions in our party that yesterday we didn't?
For 20 years, it's been a Conservative riding. You're right on that. Conservative strategist Larissa Waller. Thank you for this, Larissa.
Thanks.
That is very true. Are we going to start seeing Liberal MPs start to defect? Defect to the NDP? Defect to become an independent? Because their party currently is starting to look less liberal and more like a uniparty. So let's tally how many votes got thrown into the trash can. Canada voted Chris Donchamont, 23,047% of the vote. Michael Ma, 27,000, 50% of the vote. Matt Jeaneroux, 30,350.2% of the vote. And Marilyn Gladu, 40,553% of the vote. For a total of 120,900 votes have been put into the incinerator. Over 50% support in every riding, all elected as Conservative, then crossed the floor to the Liberals. The voters didn't change, the MPs did. Just last year, Marilyn Gladu wrote on her social media account, the grift continues. Carbon tax Carney is the same corrupt Liberals. She retweeted this post. American firm employs Mark Carney's wife receives huge contracts from the government of Canada. Here we have Marilyn Gladu absolutely destroy Mark Carney and the Liberals.
Hi, MP Marilyn Gladu here. A lot of people have been asking me, what do you think about Mark Carney? And so I thought I would let everyone know what I think about Mark Carney, starting off with the fact that
He's been Justin Trudeau's economic advisor for the past 5 years. So he's part of the disastrous mess that has been created by the Liberals in terms of the inflation, the increased cost of everything. And so I don't see that he is going to bring any change at all. And when you look at who he has appointed as his chief of staff, Marco Mendicino. I mean, Marco Mendicino was kicked out of cabinet for all of the lies that he told when he said that the police requested they enact the Emergency Measures Act, and the police clearly said they did not. And when he said he didn't know anything about Paul Bernardo being transferred to a medium security prison, and that turned out not to be true either. And then the transition team for Mark Carney, he picked David Lametti. David Lametti was the minister in the middle of the SNC-Lavalin scandal that got the get-out-of-jail-free card for SNC-Lavalin in the corruption case. So this is really bad judgment, in any case. And it doesn't speak well of the integrity of the government. But what we know about Mark Carney is that he wouldn't disclose all of his assets in Brookfield. He lied several times during the campaign leadership race. He said that he had nothing to do with the Brookfield move from Canada to the US, that he was not involved. And clearly minutes were produced where he chaired meetings where he voted in favor of the move, and he wrote letters to the shareholders to get them to support the move of the head office from Canada to the US. How does that inspire confidence that he cares about Canada at all? Nothing says, I think Canada's a great place to invest, like moving your head office to the US. So, there's nothing but concerns when it comes to Mark Carney. We don't get the straight answers. He avoids getting any questions from the press. And so he's never been elected. He wasn't elected by the Canadian people. It was a handful of Liberals in a leadership race that is going to make the next Prime Minister of Canada. And so far, it doesn't look good. That's what I think.
You know what really amazes me is that she did not delete her timeline. I would expect her to have deleted all of her social media or actually locked them down, because there is so much evidence that this entire situation smells bad. It stinks. It really stinks from heaven down to earth. How she just keeps her timeline, it just shows that they don't care about democracy anymore. They're not even trying to hide it anymore. Mark Carney's getting ratioed hard on X after he posted about the floor crosser. Check out this comment. Congratulations on the first undemocratically elected government in Canadian history. But Trump is a dictator. Got 4,400 likes, and Mark Carney's post that got nearly 1 million views only has 2,800. Canadians are pissed. We're going to move on to mainstream media. They're all in shock today because they believe the floor crosser, Marilyn Gladu, is far right wing. She's far right, and she joined the Liberals. What's going on in Canada?
The analysis too, political analyst Lydia Miljan joins us now to continue this conversation. Lydia, thanks for being here.
My pleasure, Matt.
Let's get into it. You just heard, too, from the newest member of the Liberal caucus, too, at least for now. What do you make of, again, another move to, let's start with the Liberals and for the government, too, as well, with those, again, those by-elections that are going to come, too, it looks like next week?
Yeah, it seems abundantly clear that Mr. Carney obviously doesn't want to leave anything to chance. And more importantly, I think he wants more than just a majority government. He wants to have a little bit more wiggle room. And so he's, as demonstrated today, he's willing to take anyone across the aisles. I mean, I think that I was quite shocked to hear that it was Marilyn Gladu. I always thought of her as being on the sort of far right of the Conservative caucus even. I mean, she was a supporter of the Freedom Convoy. She was a skeptic of vaccines. She was also somebody who was encouraging people to use alternate therapies for COVID. So, she was certainly on the far right of the party. And so for Mark Carney to take her and just previously, a few weeks ago, taking on an NDPer really says that he doesn't care about ideological purity. He doesn't care about necessarily fitting in with the caucus, notwithstanding, the comments made today, but he just wants those numbers.
Yeah, and that's what I think makes it so surprising. Some of what you laid out, too, right, Lydia? You talk about some of Gladu's years past, and Rachel just touched on it too as well, and some of what she had said to Evan Solomon when he was the host of Power Play on this network on CTV News. And it's interesting because, at least for now, and also going back, she has been a conservative for the last 10 plus years, and all of a sudden she's wearing liberal red today.
Yeah, I mean, she's obviously was full-throated in her endorsement of Pierre Poilievre and also of conservative policies. And so, you know, today's comments don't really say what her personal motivations are. We can speculate that she wants, you know, obviously it's easier to be inside government than be complaining on the outside. Equally, as you point out, she has been in that office since 2015. So it could be that she's not thinking of running again in an upcoming election, that she might retire out, and so this is her only chance of being part of a government party as opposed to an opposition party. But it is odd because, I mean, I'm sort of, as everyone else is, trolling through her social media accounts, and you know, as recently as January, she was complaining about floor crossers and said, you know, and she was supporting a bill to prevent floor crossers from even happening, that if you want to cross the floor, it should trigger an automatic by-election. So apparently her moral compass is a little bit mushy.
She will never, ever win again in her riding. Her career is officially over after her term. Before we go back to mainstream media, which is in shock that she would floor cross and she's the most far-right person in the Conservative Party, there was a leaked letter. That's right, a leaked letter has come out where she sent a letter to her friends in the Conservative Party, a absolute brutal letter to her best friends as she stabs them in the back. She claims she needs to do what's best for this country as she throws away 42,000 votes into the trash can, making a complete mockery of Canada's democracy. Here's the leaked letter to my colleagues. By now, you probably already heard the news. I'm joining Mark Carney and the Liberal Party as the newest member. Many of you must feel disappointed in me, which I accept and totally understand. What I'd like to say at this time is I've served in this place. I have made a choice to do what's best for my riding. No, everybody in your riding voted for you to be a conservative with conservative values. You didn't think about your riding whatsoever. For my community's priorities, your community's priorities is to make life more affordable for Canadians and for the country. No, you just threw the country's democracy into the incinerator. All of you know what I stand for. No, everything you just stood for went out the window, including your values and your integrity. And I know I will continue to bring these perspectives inside the government tent, particularly in growing a strong economy at this important moment for Canada's future. Canada's current economy is crumbling right now. You're joining the party that has made this country so weak over the last decade, and now you're joining the party to finish us off. I have the utmost respect for all of you. Oh yeah, sure. The right thing to do is what you supported at the beginning of the year, saying you would step down and require a by-election for anybody that was thinking of crossing the floors. So you weren't respecting any of them. I will continue to seek the opportunity to work together. I would never want to work with this woman ever again. Just looking at her infuriates me. I can't imagine if she was a colleague and best friend of mine. I wish you all well. I'm sure she does. We all know this is the best country on planet Earth. It used to be. It used to be a democratic country. Now everything is in question. We all have a part in making a brighter future. Do you honestly believe that we are going to see a brighter future now? Thank you to the many of you that have befriended and supported me these many years. Best regards. Best regards. And here's a picture of Gladu with trucker convoys, supporting the trucker convoys, actually going to dinner with them, giving them the thumbs up. Scott Reed, like the #1 liberal pundit, he will say and do anything to support this liberal government, is in shock today.
We've never seen anything like this. We've never seen
an election in 2025 and 1 year within 1 year, a stampede of 5 members of parliament from another party into the sitting government caucus, not as a move en masse, not as some realignment within the House of Commons, but just individual members of parliament saying, I've decided the party I ran for just months ago is no longer the party I wish to be aligned with. Instead, I'm going to cross the floor to this other party. This is a staggering political development.
If Scott Reed is shocked, it's because he just realized that Donald Trump is not the dictator. The dictator's here at home, with Mark Carney and the Liberal government taking 100% power away from the people of this country. Who knows what they're offering these floor crossers, because they're not changing their values, because they just said the tent is widening. He's doing it for power, raw power. And what is he going to do with this raw power? Even Scott Reed is a little bit concerned today. Even Rosemary Barden from CBC is surprised today.
Okay, so was this a surprise, and how does it change the political landscape in Ottawa?
It was a surprise. I will say that of all the rumors and the gossip about floor crossers, Marilyn Gladu's name was never mentioned to me in the newsroom or anybody else that I spoke to. So that is a surprise, and it changes the landscape in a couple of pretty dramatic ways. It first of all means, as you say, that it gets the government one seat closer to a majority, but it also changes, I think, some of the pressure on Monday. We would widely expect the Liberals to hold the 2 Toronto by-elections that are at stake. It's that Terrebonne riding that was the result of which were annulled by the Supreme Court and is having a redo, if you will, that becomes decidedly less important, right? Because if they get those 2 in Toronto, then they've got the majority, not a huge majority, obviously, but they've got the majority they need. So Terrebonne now becomes a riding that they would like to hold, but they don't necessarily need to hold. It is a much more real fight against the Bloc Québécois in Terrebonne, and so that changes things a little bit. But to go back to Marilyn Gladu, if I can, just for a moment, and why she is somewhat of a surprise, other than the fact that we just hadn't heard her name, she doesn't really line up with the list of floor crossers who have come before her, who I think I would mostly describe as having some progressive conservative leanings. Marilyn Gladu is I don't think that. That is not how I would describe her, and I'll point to a couple of examples. She opposed the legalization of cannabis. She also was not, she voted against an act to end conversion therapy. She was at one point during the trucker convoy against vaccine mandates sort of openly cheering on that convoy. And she very recently said that she believed that by-elections should automatically happen for MPs who cross the floor. So I would put her certainly to the right of the Prime Minister and to his party, and perhaps even to the right of some of the people inside the Conservative caucus. So I do think it begs some questions about how big the Liberal tent is becoming, and also, who exactly is feeling comfortable inside Pierre Poilievre's caucus at this stage as well.
Back in 2018, Gladu actually praised U.S. President Donald Trump as a bright light in the world. She came out as pro-Trump conservative. I got some great news, Canada. Now we have a Trump supporter inside the Liberal caucus. Also supports firearms across Canada. So now we have a Liberal that is going to be going full tilt against this failed gun buyback program.
The honourable member for Sarnia-Lambton.
Well, Mr. Speaker, the Liberals' gun buyback program is doomed from the start. Gun crime in Canada is largely committed using illegal guns. But the Liberals want to use more taxpayer dollars to buy back guns from law-abiding gun owners. Can the minister explain why they're punishing law-abiding citizens instead of criminals and driving up debt while doing so? Great question.
The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And I will remind honourable members that assault-style firearms have no place in Canada. Through the mandatory buyback program, we will remove the threat these deadly firearms pose from our communities, from coast to coast to coast.
And now we have a vocal voice inside our government that will never allow them to have a vaccine mandate on Canadians ever again.
Every Canadian has the right to freely enter and leave Canada. That is in the Charter of Rights. During the pandemic, They trapped over 4 million people for over 2 years here in the country, even after it was medically proven that people that were vaccinated could get and transmit COVID the same as the unvaccinated. So we had 90% of people who were vaccinated who were allowed to go wherever they wanted and enter and leave. But we trapped those 10% that were not a higher risk in the country, separating them from their families and causing a lot of trauma.
It's going to be quite interesting to see how she's going to get along with her new friends.
Well, I believe that Justin Trudeau and the Liberal policies are destroying our country. They've ruined the economy in the West. I believe that, what they're doing in terms of pitting one group of Canadians against another, really eroding the freedoms of the country. So what we need to do is get Justin Trudeau out of office. And to do that, the Conservatives have to win.
I got one more for you.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. And another excellent question from my colleague. The government's promises were that they were going to sell off land so that they could build the affordable housing that we're missing because of the massive immigration that did not match the supply of housing. And yet here we go. We see again that they're giving money. Who's getting rich, Madam Speaker? That's always the question with these Liberals. It's corruption. It's Brookfield. It's the Prime Minister getting rich. I'm just not certain exactly which Liberal insider is getting rich on this one, Madam Speaker.
I think I know why we got a floor crosser announcement today, because a brand new report was just released and they wanted to bury this thing that shows the federal deficit could top $100 billion per year, leading all the way up to 2035, making your standard of living getting completely decimated in this country. Solution time. What can we do about all these floor crossers? I think it's time that every single conservative in this country crosses the floor. Go straight and join the Liberal Party, including Pierre Poilievre. Everybody crosses the floor. We need something big to occur in this country to save it. Because if every single conservative crossed the floor, it would be so scandalous that even the useless Governor General has no option but to shut down the government and call an election. Encourage everybody, let's just cross the floor so this government will fall. That's it for today's report. It is actually unbelievable that one of the most conservative MPs in Canada has crossed the floor. This is like Pierre Poilievre saying, you know what? I want to join Mark Carney and the Liberals today. I'm surprised she didn't delete her timeline. It's going to be used against her on a daily basis. What do you think about my plan to save the country? We need something big to happen before it's too late. Leave a comment. I read them. I'll see you on the next report.